Hello, Mariana. Welcome back to the podcast.
Hi, thank you for inviting me back. It's a pleasure to be here, as always.
It's nice to have you on again after we've met last time, and since then we've stayed in touch. And I've been following a lot of your work, and you've been growing so fast and so much. So you're doing great. Congratulations.
Same to you, man. Same to you. Like, look how much the podcast has grown since the last time we talked, right? I mean, how many episodes has it been?
This is gonna be already in the 90, so we are getting close to 100.
Wow. Which number am I now?
I don't know, because we pre-record all of them, and by this it's gonna be whether the 90 or the 91. I don't know yet.
Okay, special enough.
So if you whatever number you prefer, we're gonna put you on.
I'm gonna do the 99.
The 99, okay, but then people will need to wait way longer. No, jokes apart, I don't know, because they're like, I always pre-record them for a few weeks in advance, because sometimes people, last moment they have some issue and they cannot record a podcast, so I have to have at least 2-3 episodes ready to go, and then sometimes we switch order and so on. But let's talk about you, because you've very, very famous around the architectural social media world now, and everywhere, at least on my feed, you pop out, YouTube, Instagram, everywhere. So I was thinking that after we got to know you and know all your background on episode 47, so for the people who have missed that, they can go back and listen your story. We can focus on your activity besides Zaha Hadid Architecture, because you're working at Zaha Hadid Architects, and on the side you're very involved into workshop and so on.
Yeah, sounds good. I think it's also one of the most important things, or probably the most interesting, beside my work for office, is probably what I do beside the office. Outside of the office is probably the most challenging, and also has a lot of potential. So yeah, let's get these questions.
So first of all, like, I know what it is to do something beside work, and I don't work at the office that is Zaha Hadid. So it's not so crazy probably as it might be. But how do you manage to work at one of the cutting edge offices in the world, which makes probably the most advanced architecture and the most challenging architecture in the world, and also have energy and mental energy and time to prepare workshops and organize yourself, and also because you have a private life?
Yeah, of course. You know what, like, sometimes I manage, sometimes I don't manage. So some days I really cannot do anything beside office work, to be honest with you. But the goal is to kind of split the day into, and have office work on one side, and then finish the office work, and I would open my own files and my own projects, and school projects, or whatever I'm teaching, or even the content that I'm planning to put on social media. That's what I do after work. So the goal is to kind of balance both. And how I do it is basically, I mean, this is boring, but it's time management. And it's kind of a skill on time management, which was something that I really sucked at. I was really bad at it. I was good on everything except for time management. And because I knew that, and I got super big critics on it, I really focused on that, on how much time does which task takes. And then I started planning my days, and all my days I kind of plan not on an agenda or with an alarm, like I have these lists per day, and the goal is just ticking my whole list and then starting whatever I had to start on that day. And also I like to honor my commitments, and the kind of projects that I'm doing outside for school, for teaching or content creation, I have contracts and with people, so I don't like to fail my commitments, and I really don't like to fail a deadline. I hate it. So I basically just fill my tasks every day.
But that's not boring at all because it sounds so simple. Like lately, I've been reading a little bit about this stuff, and everybody gives you this kind of obvious suggestion. Like, oh, you have to just time manage, but it's simply said and not so simply done. So, what is like your day look like? For example, what time you wake up, what is like in the morning, what time you start working at the office or for the office, and what time you finish and what time you start again. And are the checklists that you have all of them together or you separate them? It's not a very simple thing to do. And also, do you plan short term, long term? Because the week it's long.
I plan like super short term. Maybe I could even show you what a list looks like. Like all my book notes are like this. So everything is like little tasks that are so stupid, as in draw windows, design a wall, design floor number 6. Like super dumb tasks that just make you happy to kind of tick them off. And I do them daily. Otherwise, I have a calendar on my phone for week tasks and stuff like that, but daily I do it by hand. So I don't wake up very early, to be honest. I think one day I'll wake up really early, but today is not the day. And I don't love to wake up early. So my first alarm is at 8:30.
Oh, that's quite late.
Pause for shock. I just hate it, and I don't need to force myself to kind of wake up that early. I'll be very, very unhappy if I have to wake up earlier than this. Okay, and then I start working around 9:30, have breakfast. I always have good breakfast. Usually I start with meetings, or actually the first thing I do is start on Teams. So I'm like reading tasks, sending tasks to people, making sure that the days align for me and for everyone that I'm working with as well. So it's everything on Teams, and I'm like just writing. And then everyone knows what to do. So then the day kind of develops to my tasks, right? So my design tasks at the office. And around lunchtime, this is like a typical day. Around lunchtime, if I'm fine, if I'm not like under pressure for office or I don't have like a big deadline, I basically just close my office stuff and then I open my own stuff. And I know it's controversial, but I really don't like to spend time having lunch. I'm so sorry for the healthy people. I don't like it. I never liked it. And I'm not going to be forced to take 1 hour lunchtime, okay? I was in my university and even my friends were going for lunch, and it was like a big effort for me to stop my day and to have 1 hour of lunch. Like I wouldn't even be like focused on having lunch, because I'm thinking about something else. So I usually have lunch in front of my computer. Pause for shock. So I'm in front of the computer, I'm meeting something, I'm working on my stuff on that hour, okay? So I'm not working for office, I'm doing my own things. As long as I feel that it's time to stop and to go back to the office, I start the office work, and then I usually after lunch, the team reconnects as well. It's a pattern for some reason. We all kind of like, where are you at this task and how is that task going? So it's kind of a repeat of the breakfast, okay, of the early morning. Okay, when we are all like, we know where we are, we know how the things are going, we develop our own work for office, and then I do whatever I'm doing. So right now I'm doing the Tower C, which is a tower for Shenzhen. So I'm doing a lot of 2D work and 3D, but in Rhino. So it's a bit more rationalized kind of work. And a lot of emails back and forth. And then around 7, I'm starting to kind of looking around to see if it's okay to stop. How is everyone with their tasks and how my tasks were. I kind of tick all the boxes for the day. And let's hope that at 7, I'm able to kind of close it, sign out. And I either go to the gym, which is like religious. So go to the gym at least 3 times or 4 times a week, or I open my own stuff and I start my models, and then I finish around 10, let's say, 10 p.m.
No dinner as well?
Dinner after. I'm Portuguese. I have very late dinners.
Or you have like dinner after 10?
Sometimes when I'm in London, I have dinner at 11.
Oh, okay.
But I eat super light. I don't have like, the having dinner in front of a TV or on my table, In
Okay.
London, I actually have dinner like really, really, really quick.
Okay. You're currently not in London? You're working from somewhere else?
So right now I'm in Lisbon for a couple of days and then I'll be back.
Oh, that's nice. So you're enjoying a little bit of the warmth of Lisbon.
And a bit of sun.
But that's a quite you have to stay very, very focused and on the point for the whole day. So it sounded packed. And when you go to the gym, how long is your workout more or less? Is it like
I work out? My workouts are a bit long. It depends. Sometimes when I'm doing like full body kind of things, which is HIIT or high intensity training, is 40 minutes only. When I'm doing like heavyweights, I'm taking it longer. So for bottom part of body, and it takes me like 1 hour and a half, 2 hours.
That's a great tip that you're giving here, because that means there are some days of the week where what you do on your beside work projects, it's very little. It's basically your lunch break or this half an hour or something small, and then you focus on yourself, which is a balance that I have still to learn and practice. I have to learn and get extra advice from you. And when did you start the first time teaching extra? Are you still also at the AA? Because last time we talked, we also explained the part of you that you've been studying at the AA and then you joined as an external teacher for Maya, if I'm not wrong. And when did you start doing basically having this side job of teaching people, educating people?
So on the side, I started a very long time ago. I started when I started Zaha, because when I joined the office, it was clear that there was one very big requirement on the software, on Maya. And usually a lot of people from the DRL, so from the post-graduation course, are hired because of their knowledge in this software, okay? It's not because they are looking for the knowledge, but they are looking for these projects on the portfolio that needed the software. You know what I mean? So the software has to be there and they have to know it. So when I joined, I realized that, and I knew Maya as a self-taught kind of process. That's the only, I knew what I knew what to do, what I understood how to do it. I taught myself. And so when I joined Zaha and I realized that, I was like, okay, my teacher at the DRL really sucked in Maya, like really shitty. So, and these new kids every year, we actually need the software to be hired a lot more than they realize. So let me go back and teach them what I know. And with time, I became quite good at it because I had to kind of make up for the lack of knowledge on the software in my cluster in the office. So I kind of worked extra hours just to get around the software. I was working a lot after work and during the weekends just for the software, because everyone around was like super good. And I was definitely the worst. And I was the only one who got hired at that point. So I could tell the difference. So I kind of did these extra miles. And when I got really good at it, I thought, yeah, so now I'm going to go back to DRL and I'm going to ask the director, can I teach? Actually ask Pierre, who is the assistant of Patrick Schumacher. And I said, let me teach. I think I can give this knowledge to these kids. And there is this like double opportunity, right? The kids want the knowledge to be hired, and the office also wants these kids to be really good at it. So it was double interest. So that's when I started. I started on my first year of Zaha. So it was like 5 years ago.
How long was the time in which you needed to go these extra miles to bring up your level of Maya? Because it sounded like you joined Zaha, then you needed a little bit to improve, and then you start teaching. Yeah. So how long was that period?
I think it was my probation period in Zaha, because when you join, they give you a probation period of 6 months. And during these 6 months, I was doing my extra hours just to catch up. And then I started right away. I was giving like tips to them. I was going to DRL, the Design Research Laboratory post-grad unofficially. And I was going there just to give them like some help. Then I've kind of started structuring a course. And then the next year I came with a course already structured. Then the year after, the same thing. I was just helping Patrick Schumacher's studio on the software knowledge, and I had even a better program, and I was becoming quite good at understanding what they need at which level and which tools. Okay, it's actually kind of a science. And then after that program, the director of the DRL gave me a contract for the whole studio, and then I started teaching to the whole studio. And then it's been 5 years, and this year I quit. I left them.
Yeah, you left them because of the biggest amount of online classes that you're giving.
Exactly, because I started teaching live, and then there is this very big gap between the money that you earn when you're teaching for a school and the money that you earn when you're just like crypto. When you're doing live teaching and you're getting the money directly from your students. And it's like a direct transaction between teacher and student, student to teacher. Okay, so this is like clean money with no institution taking it, you know.
Yeah,
and the difference is 1/5, 1/10 almost.
Yeah, because of course the school has the whole infrastructure, and of course there are not a lot of people to be paid on the line. The whole infrastructure, like building, just the building the physical place where you are to be maintained and so on. So I can understand.
Exactly. It's like the whole decentralization of power conversations that we have been having, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because of having banks as the intermediate between us and the users. And then basically the teaching is the same. When you're not teaching for an institution, you're not getting your money sliced in pieces.
Yes. I totally understand that. So basically the beginning was like you got to know the software at a very good level, and your strategy was that you were using the software during the day for work anyways, for the whole day. Then you put extra work, got the knowledge. And I like the part in which you already prepared the whole structure of the class, and you basically went to the school with already your product, so to say, and say, here, I can teach you this. And so this is a very good advice for anyone who wants to teach something, to prepare the structure, prepare everything.
And you know what, like there's also another very important dimension to this, which is not just financial, or it's not just for the interest of hiring and getting hired. There is this content that you have to create. You have to force yourself to create original pieces, right? I cannot copy projects I have no interest in copying projects from Zaha to teach them. So I would have to create my own projects. And that was kind of forcing me to creating projects every week. Different projects every week. So to prepare the class, it would be like, let's say, 3-hour class. I would have to, the day before or the weekend before, to spend the whole weekend designing a project to teach that. So that kind of also brings another dimension to your creative life. And that's why it kind of created so much content that it could feed my social media. Okay, it became like a mega loop between teaching, feeding the media with content, and working for an office.
But when you were practicing on yourself, you would do it through this project that you have had created in your mind, and you just translate it into software, and then the outcome you would put online, which is on your Instagram, and this is how attract people that are interested in exactly this, which is it's a great strategy. And I'm very curious, because one thing that it's very also difficult, although it seems simple, is when you do this kind of projects on your own, how did you set up for yourself the brief for the project? How do you say, okay, I'm going to do a tower, I know you've done concert halls or homes or anything you have done. So how do you think the brief and then execute it?
Yeah, that's a good question, because that's the secret behind it. So basically, when I said that I was refining my class structure and I was understanding which level needed what, that would also recall a specific project. So let's say that for beginners in Maya, the most important tools are bridging, creasing, and low poly. So in my head, my brief is that. which kind of typology in architecture is it going to be satisfying enough for them to model. So it will finish as a whole project, and is based on bridging, creasing, and low poly. You know what I mean? Which is like these words, but you can understand what I mean, right? So that's the brief. What's the level of which tools am I teaching, and what's the best typology for these tools? So when I did advanced, for example, I thought, okay, I think they will be satisfied with the level of advanced if they are able to make a tower, and then a tower kind of brings me this advanced level of creating louvers and creating this little detail kind of scale. So a tower would be like a super good typology for an advanced level. And then when it's intermediate, it's another thing. And then when it was like pro, I did interiors because you need like a super mega control of details and of the mesh. So the brief is basically their levels. And that's the kind of where the typology comes.
So basically you invent a complete typology based on the tools of the software, and it's irrelevant where it is, like the plot and stuff like that. It's just a pure architectural geometry exercise. How come it's Maya that important? What is the software what is the power of this software that is so important? Because of course also one of the industry leaders is Rhino plus Grasshopper, because it can be easily rationalized and then actually built. Is Maya the same thing, or what is the advantage of Maya compared to Rhino with Grasshopper, for example?
We do Rhino with Grasshopper, but Rhino and Grasshopper after Maya. Maya has these abilities of achieving form like Rhino has not at all, is not even close. Then Rhino created SubD, which is trying to get closer to mesh polygon modeling, which is what Maya is. But SubD is very good at rationalizing, not form finding. Form finding in Maya is perfection. Like there's nothing like it. And for example, let's say for me, Blender is like SketchUp, Maya SketchUp. For example, I don't know if you've heard Blender, which is not precise. It's very plastic. It's very naive, and it's a bit childish kind of software. And then you have Rhino, which is like super, super rationalized. And then Maya is in between. It is rationalized. It has accuracy. It has parametric tools, but is not like as rational and stiff as Rhino, and not as like blobby and random as Blender. So it kind of gave the office this very good starting point for every project. The building is designed in Maya and conceived in Maya, and even the algorithm that Maya has for curves are kind of taken in advantage for the curves that we do at Zaha. So, which is called Smooth Mesh Preview, then Maya Catmull Clark. This is the algorithm that is behind the curve. And this algorithm helps the curve quite a lot. And then we export from Maya. Whenever you're happy with your form, you found the form, you found the shape, it's not form, okay, it's typology. Whenever you're happy with our typology, topology, you export it to Rhino, and then we rationalize the hell out of it, and then we take it to Grasshopper, and then we take it to Revit and all that. But before that, it's like 6 months or a year in Maya.
I understand. And from what you said before, as far as in the stool, when you create these workshops, because before you were a DAA and you had your own class, which would be structured throughout a year, I can imagine, or throughout different months. Now that you are out of that place and you're teaching online, do you structure like different levels? So for example, you have who are the students that usually join your classes? Is it for somebody that already knows a little bit, or are they different from somebody like me that has never opened Maya, or somebody that has a little bit of knowledge, or somebody that's advanced?
Yeah.
What are
I get a
levels?
bit of both. I get a bit of all, also because I've been teaching live for 2 years, and I have been having students that are like regulars. Like I'm on all classes, and right now they are like on expert mode. So I'm also catering these guys and girls, and that's really important. Okay, I have that in mind. But the biggest percentage is first timers. I have a lot of first timers because they see it, and then finally someone says, this is how you do the 3D that you see from Zaha, from MAD, or from UN Studio. There's no secret. This is the software behind. Okay, come and get the skills, and then let's see if you have the talent. something like this. So you get to get a lot of first timers, and I also make sure that they can catch up on every video and on every live. But whenever I feel like I also owe to my old students to step up, I tell my first timers, listen, this is going to be an advanced intermediate class, and I don't recommend you, but these people also, like, they deserve to kind of step up their 3D modeling game. So I also do kind of cater for them as well, but it's not that regular. It's not that common. It's more common to have the beginners and the first timers, and they catch up really, really well and really quickly.
And where do you exactly teach? Because last time we've talked, I got to know you through Futurely, because you had a workshop with Futurely. And are you still working with them, or do you use some other platforms to teach, or do you have your own base now? How do you do this?
So I started with Live Academy. That's when I got like my first proposal. And it was really cool because I was not planning for this or expecting. And this guy, he was really nice for me to kind of join Live Academy, and he bet on me quite a lot. And then after I started with Live Academy, I joined Futurely, and they were also starting. So I had this feeling of we are all starting this, and that was really cool. And then after Futurely, I kind of did collaborations with, I did with Chantal Matar, for example, the concert hall. We did it on our own as like two designers. That was the concert hall. And then now I'm going to do, in March, I'm going to start a workshop studio with parametric architecture. So with PA Academy. They just gave me my own studio for a month. So it kind of depends.
Yeah, so there are multiple platforms. And how long are these workshop? And because they're and how does it look like? Because I've never taken an online workshop live. I've only experienced like the classic platforms where you watch something that's already recorded. How does this workshop looks like? How long it is and how it works?
So usually it's an 8-hour workshop. So it depends on the structure. Like with PA, I'm going to do something different, and I've done something different with Live Academy. But with Futurely, I usually do 8 hours. So like 4 hours on a Saturday, 4 hours on a Sunday, and I'm modeling live. But since this is Maya, I do it a bit differently. It's Maya, it's 3D modeling, it's a complex software. So I always ask my students, it's like typical from all my videos. I ask them to chill, not open the software and do whatever you want. Just listen to me, do your laundry, do your life, do whatever. Don't try to catch up to model at the same time as me if you're not like advanced, because it's very frustrating to be modeling at the same time as someone who's modeling on a software like Maya. Okay, it gets you like pretty much on your nerves. Like there was a time I was doing 3ds Max, and it was so annoying from the navigation, from zooming in and out, like everything was pissing me off, and I kind of created like this frustration with 3ds, and I don't want anyone to get that with Maya. So just take your time. The live is being recorded, and then they get the recording, but you just need to listen to me and look at me. You learn a lot from looking. So when I was at Zaha, in the beginning, I was looking at everyone modeling, just looking at them, just like staring, like laying back and looking at their workflow, like their hand workflow, their modeling workflow. So staring, you learn a lot from that, especially in Maya, because there's like a flow. Oh, you disappeared. It's saying looking for a phone.
Oh, sorry. And now it's again on. Because when I stay quiet for a long time, it's
I disappeared.
The phone. It's my webcam.
Oh, okay. Give me a second. I need to charge this. Okay. So then basically I just tell them to chill, or if they are intermediate or advanced, do it at the same time. But if you're not, chill. And then you get the recording, you practice on your own, and then you just bother me with thousands of questions. And I'm like getting bombarded with questions every day on my Instagram, for example, with DMs. I'm constantly getting DMs with screenshots of what happened here, how can I fix that, and all that. So yeah, and I think that really works, like especially in softwares where you have to model like live. it's better when it's recorded. I know this is annoying, but it's true, because like it's impossible for the class to be at the same pace and at the same level. And then everyone asks, and then you didn't catch up, and then you lost the train, and then you're angry. So it's really more important that you hear, and then you kind of go home and watch the recording.
And when you build this model in advance for your workshop, do you build like sort of a different, like you have the home model and then you have saved some stages in case then you don't manage to do it live in 8 hours? Or you're really sure that you're going to make it in 8 hours?
No, it's impossible. No, I'm really sure. Okay, I practiced the class 1,000 times before.
Oh,
1,000 times. Yeah. I'm really sure. But it's impossible to kind of record every step that you make in 8 hours. So usually my 3D models for the class are broken down in steps, also for myself. So I know, like, in this step I bridged, in that step I creased, in that step I did la la la, you know what I mean? So I have my 3D kind of like broken down into step by step. But that's my recipe. I cannot give away my recipe.
No, I don't
That's how I keep the 8 hours.
That sounds amazing, how you managed to practice all this in advance for these workshops. And I'm curious, how many workshops do you do with the same project, or every single workshop you'll do there will be a new model and a new project?
Yeah. Every single project there's a new model.
And how often do you do workshops?
Last year I did like a kamikaze kind of thing. I did 3 workshops in a month and a half. That was insane. I'm not going to do that again. So it was 3 different models, each one with, like, let's say 10 professional renders. And that was also, again, that was giving me a lot of content on Instagram, which gives you a lot of audience, which gives you a lot of engagement, which also like helps on promoting the class. So it's kind of a machine that really works. If I work myself to level of crazy, it will give me a lot of content, it will give me students, and also helps the algorithm. So it was a good time. But then I stopped, and I was like, I even announced to everyone, listen, I'm going to take a break from teaching. Also because I'm catering my 3Ds for these, levels of teaching. The 3Ds are not reaching the maximum potential, right? I'm doing 3Ds for beginners, and then 3D for advanced, and then 3D for experts. And the reality is the project could be even better if I didn't have to teach it. You know what I mean? So I kind of decided I'm going to take a break on the teaching side, and I'm going to do my own stuff. And actually there's something new coming up that is not teaching, and is my own project.
Oh,
that's
how is the creative process of you designing these projects? Looks like you start just sketching around something, and also how feasible are they? Are they purely based on the software, or they are actually then architectural project in a sense that eventually, if you work on rationalizing them, they could be built?
Exactly. That's another part of teaching. I make sure that they are feasible. So you never know if in the future I want them, you know. So even if you look at my content, you can see that it's a bit more architectural than concepts. I mean, there's also a lot of conceptuality in it, but it's not total concept, right? It's also very real, because I know that in the future I might want to kind of bring them back and take them to another step.
Oh, that's totally cool. It sounds very much time exhausting and very much work, of a big workload to make one of those workshops. Have you ever been contacted by, now there are a lot of these platforms, as I was mentioning, like Udemy, Domestika, where they contact these creatives that have also like a larger Instagram audience or larger online audience like you do, and they ask you to create a class which is basically a recorded tutorial to do one project, and then it's sold on their platform. And for you, for example, would be something like you do it once, but it will stay up there and people can buy it for I don't know how many euros, and then you get some passive income. Have you ever had this opportunity or thinking about doing something like this?
Yeah. Well, but for example, my lives are, I do the live and then it becomes a recording that you can actually purchase. So it's also like all my classes are live, are up there. Like you can buy them. You can buy the recordings. But I haven't been contacted, no. And of course, I'll be interested. It's always interesting to work with other corporations. So I never say no to many things. Usually I like to say yes also because I'm in the beginning of my career. So I do accept challenges, but I can see the good part and the bad part. So the good part is obviously there is this exchange of students that is very positive. So I'll get some students from them. They'll probably get some students from me, and that's how it usually goes. So that's positive. The not so great part is because they are a mega institution, it would work a little bit like a school, right? So they would filter the money that I get, and probably the contracts wouldn't be as easy to go around as the contracts that I'm able to do with smaller institutions. And the percentage wouldn't be the same, okay? It wouldn't be 50-50 or 60-40 with me getting the 60. So it would be something that I would have to really analyze if it would benefit me. And I got this also a recent proposal from a very big one, and I'm still interested in it, and we're gonna go forward. But I kind of had to challenge this quote: how much percentage I'll get, how much percentage you get, and challenge the contract as well. So the bigger they get, the more challenging it is to change the contract, right?
Yeah.
Right now, I'm happy with this familiar kind of environment. Okay, so this more familiar community.
And how do you set up it when you work for these other sort of platforms that are more they are more niche, let's say? Because parametric architecture, I had the pleasure to talk with Hamid on the last podcast, on one of the last podcasts, and also futurely we've had them on too. What is the deal? Like, if you can share, or of course I don't know, like, because they still have to get a piece of the pie.
Yeah. So they get different shares. For example, Futurely started with they were under 10K followers when we started. They were like 5K or 4K. And I was already on 20K something. So it kind of made sense that I would probably get them more followers than they would get me. Not followers, I mean students. So an interest community. Okay, so we kind of understood in that way. So the percentage was leaning a bit more towards me, since I would probably bring more students to the table. And also because we get along really well, and I really like them. So it was kind of a fair discussion, and we kind of discussed it openly, which is something that I really like to do, is to kind of discuss these contracts and discuss what we do financially, and to get involved in that, since I'm also the teacher. So with Futurely it was really easy, and even when we got like different models and different structures, we were debating and still debating how much it should be, and they actually allow me to debate everything, even from the price of the class to the date of the class to everything, and it was very easy. PA as well, I know him a little bit less, but it also sounded very flexible. I also had to kind of say what I'm able to do, what I'm not able to do, which are my dates, what I'm expecting. And then when you start teaching a lot and you profit with one group of people, you don't want to do less profit than that, right? So you kind of use that in comparison in your head. So I know that if I work with these guys, I'm going to get this much. So it wouldn't make sense that I would spend this much time doing something that will give me less profit. So it's also very important to kind of create a comparison chart. So it's very open. That's why I told you, since this community is very close to us, like we all know a little bit each other, like digitally, it's a bit more open contract than getting these mega contracts for some company that give you like 30% or 20%.
And what is the range of prices that, for example, one of the workshops like yours gets sold for? And for example, what is then the price if people just buy the video? Or
it's also something that we discuss in team and in group. So we look at you look at the market around, and you see how much the other platforms are doing. But the guys do that. I don't do that much. I kind of think, how much would I be expecting from it, and how much time I'm putting on it, because my time does worth money, and not working or working for something that's not going to give me profit is a waste of time. Mm-hmm. So I also have to make sure that the time that I'm putting on it is getting an amount that would not make me feel like I was abused, basically. So we kind of, right now I think we did 65, but I think I was happy with $75 per class. And I did 75 when I was English Untitled, because that was the price that was kind of fair for me. And it was 8 hours. So 8 hours, 75. And then with PA, I don't think I can disclose this now.
No, not, I don't want the exact numbers.
Yeah, with PA, I'm not going to disclose.
No, I don't want disclosure in exact numbers. That's why I said for ranges. So you get like this amount of money per student. And
per student, yeah. But if you go to my classes right now, they're online. You can see them. There are 65 each, and I think I have like 5 or 6 classes online.
Okay. But they're not for free online. You have to just buy the video, I guess.
Yeah. They're online. I mean, you can purchase them online. They are not for free.
Yeah, okay. And then basically there are a certain amount of people that are that day at the workshop, which varies, of course, and then in ongoing you get some percentage on the video, or how it works.
Yeah, I get the percentage from the live itself, and then I get another percentage from the courses that are up online for purchase.
And that's every month, or you have like
every 3 months?
Every 3 months they tell you, okay, we sold so many, and that sounds a very good way of doing a side hustle, and that's like and that's my next question. Does it still make sense to work also full time for Zaha Hadid, or is Zaha Hadid also sort of oxygen for your classes, because it's sort of your background? You know, I say I work at Zaha Hadid, and I say this is so to say an advantage you have, because if, let's say, I were the king of Maya, but I've never worked at Zaha Hadid, I wouldn't have the same.
It's a good question.
Yeah,
it's a very good question. It's also, it was very poetic the way you put it, like the oxygen, and it also goes right straight to the point. Let me tell you, there are many sides to this. So there's one side that is, yes, I do need the brand, yet I have already created a brand, which is Mariana Cabugueira. And I think I can right now launch as a teacher of, if I wanted to be just a teacher of Maya, I would be able to be disconnected to Zaha. And I'll be just Mariana Cabugueira, the teacher of Maya, or fluidity, or whatever they call me. So I think I could do that. And then there's the other side. I am still an architect, and I really like architecture. That was my whole goal growing up, was to become an architect, and I really enjoy that. And like you said, it is an oxygen to be in an office where you do architecture, and you do great architecture with very good architects. And that's something that I don't take it for granted. And the day that I want to leave Zaha, I am pretty much aware that I'm leaving a place where a lot of great architecture gets done with really good designers and good people. So that's what's the biggest weight on the balance. It's not financially how much I'm getting from Zaha at all. Let me tell you, quite the opposite. That's the little red dot on the balance. But it's the kind of projects that I'm doing and the people that I'm working with, they kind of compensate for that, and the knowledge that I get as well. So, yeah.
But I'm curious, like in my imagination, in my mind, a person like you, first of all, if you leave Zaha and then after quite some time you want to go back, in my imagination, your doors will be open because because how many people in the world?
Are you talking to my director?
No, I'm
Please
not talking.
Doors to Mariana.
No, but I'm just thinking from a logic point of view, because I mean, yes, there are a lot of people around the world that are good in doing what people at Zaha Hadid do. But you've been there for quite some time, and you know the structures, you know the workflow, you have the experience, you've proven yourself. So I know a lot of these situations where people like you leave these kind of big offices, and people that when they leave, the people there tell them, look, yeah, go do your stuff, you're welcome back. Yeah. Just because it's so much better for the company to have you back, because no matter who comes at your place, they will need to gather the same experience, which will cost money. So that's why I think maybe, I don't know.
That's a very smart observation. Yeah, I also know that, but I also know my director, and I know that he's a very emotional person and he can go both ways. I know he wouldn't like me to know that I would have a door open back. I know that.
Okay. No, I that's not a message for your director. Definitely, it's just my personal observation that if you were somewhere and you work well, they're never gonna tell you, yeah, just screw yourself and forever never see you again. But yeah, I totally understand. So at this point, basically, your work as a teacher pays you as much as you, or even more, as you work as full-time architect. Without numbers, I don't want to know numbers. I'm just saying like not ratio.
If I was doing more workshops than I do per year, if I did that like 3 more workshops than I did last year, it would match.
It would have been like a second salary.
It would probably work as a second salary, Zaha salary.
Yeah. How do you make that?
But then again, it's a lot of work to be doing that many workshops. A lot of work, like it's insane. That is level crazy. And I do a lot of crazy work, and that is level crazy to be doing that many workshops per year.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, if you didn't have Zaha, then it would be achieved a number. What for you now would be crazy would be like, it would be totally fine, because you would cut off all the hours that you have to put it into work. And after you've taught your students this project, does it happen a lot that you then see the project that they have done on their own with the software, and you say, oh, this is so cool, I'm so proud of what is the biggest like apart of the money, because we've been so much
focused on the financial
on the financial and focus on how hard it is to do it, like work-wise. What are the biggest rewards for you emotionally, and like when you...
I mean, I think it's good that we talk about this as a business as well, because we are also talking about with young architects, right? And there is like other options on just doing office. So that's why that was like kind of the approach of the teaching. And then I'm going to be super, super honest with you. Like, I don't love teaching. I never wanted to teach. I never played as a teacher, you know, when you're like super young and like everyone wants to play the teacher. I never played that. I hate it. And I really don't, and I don't want my students to be upset. I think they know. I don't like those 8 hours in which I'm speaking nonstop and modeling, and my brain needs to be in complete focus on my 3D, and I'm like talking as I'm modeling, and I'm like doing the commands. I hate it, to be honest. So I'm not a cutout teacher. But the thing about the teaching was, one, I saw this opportunity of helping these students to get hired. And then I also saw this opportunity of this office getting better students. And then, like, don't mind me, I obviously saw this opportunity as in one day I might want to hire you as well. And we know each other, and I know your skills, and I know like if you're good or not. So it's also very good for whatever office I decide to use. I've known so many students at this point that I knew exactly which students I would get to kind of collaborate with me if they wanted. So and then there is this side of teaching that is exactly what you just said. So one of the best parts is to see them committed. Okay, so I hate the hours when I'm like talking nonstop and modeling. I really love the week after, in which I start receiving these screenshots of whatever they did, and it's amazing. That's like a feeling that it really kind of compensates all of these hours preparing the class, is when I get their 3D, and they are also astonished, like even they are like kind of super surprised. Look at what I did. I never thought I would do this. And I get like huge messages of people thanking me, and that's like irreplaceable. That's like an irreplaceable feeling. And it is amazing to see what they did with the knowledge that you gave them. They did that, you know. And some of them are really good at rendering, or they're like even better at these little things than me. So you kind of see the project elevated. And yeah, that's one of the best things of the teaching side. And also then there's like the worst part, which is students practicing the class and publishing the classes like their own designs. That's really bad. And that's awful. The other day I saw a guy teaching a whole fluidity class, and it was like 5 classes or 8 classes, and 5 of the designs were mine. Can you imagine? And someone just told me like, oh, look at this guy's teaching this. And they were my classes. He was teaching my classes.
So he'd been to your class, and then he was teaching the same thing to other people.
And now he's teaching them. Yeah, and there's nothing that can stop him, right? There's nothing, there's not a contract, there's nothing. Unless like shame, like self-awareness and shame. Like, so yeah, you get a bit of both.
Yeah, I mean, it's I've had that when I was at the university. There would be people that would take some project and copy it and then present it as their, like,
exactly,
not even try to change it. They would just take a project and redo it somehow worse than it was.
Yeah, I mean, I bet that my tower is being submitted for some student project or for some university. Of course, some students are really like, they really lack creativity. And what can you do? I mean, there's nothing you can do.
But
it's just gonna happen.
What are the demographics of the people that are joining these classes? Are they generally still university students, or are there people that are also already working and want to, I don't know, maybe learn some software to try to get a job at Zaha or places like that?
Yeah. I get a lot of young architects. I get a lot of students. I also get a lot of young architects. And then I also got like small corporate, small offices. They were joining my classes for teach at their own office. That's also very motivating, because then they send me their projects from their office and how much is developing, and they get their whole office like learning, like small offices, like 5 people, 6 people. They learn from my classes. That's also cool. Usually and I also get like super late stages, like really, really older senior people, like on their 60s or something. And these people are fed up with their own software, so they just join. I think there's like a guy that comes like every class. He's 60 something. I don't think he practices even. He's just watching, listening and watching. And I'm happy he's there, and we talk after. He makes questions about art and architecture.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Which countries are mainly the people from?
Usually I have more students from Asia. So from Asia, I mean South Asia. So a lot of India, a lot of the Philippines, and then Europe a bit. But usually from also South America, I think, also from Canada. I get a bit everywhere.
In Europe, we are getting lazy. I have this feeling.
Europe is getting a bit... I know. I think we are just a bit snobbish. We are like, no, this is not the way. We are not going to learn a new software. We're going to learn the old things or whatever. So
no, I just think that people, like, for example, I don't know anyone that does something extra after work, or if they do it, they take one day of work off. Like, for example, they say to the company, I'm gonna work 4 days or less.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
And they work part-time and they do it. And I'm like the only person that I know about that. For example, I do the podcast. But
you see, seriously. So you're working under this schedule of 4 days a week and then one extra?
no, I don't. I work full time because I want all the money, and then I do it during the morning and during the evening and during the weekends. But there are people that are, if I start getting money, I would go for maybe the part-time thing, so that I don't get a burnout, or that actually, because it's very hard, as you know yourself, it's very hard to be constantly on the checklist that you have to fulfill. And I mean, when you two have private life, relationships that you want to enjoy time sometimes, and it's difficult to do things.
Like, honestly, even relationships, they take so much time, and I know that we are very happy about the time that we have on our relationships, but the difference between my productivity in Lisbon and my productivity in London is like, you cannot even compare, because in London I'm doing my own schedule, and I'm doing whatever I want to do, and it's completely up to me and up to my schedule if I want to have lunch or not, or if I want to have dinner or not. And I work, I don't know, like 5 times more probably. So I spend like longer times there. Sometimes when I know I have like a project coming, and I go to London, and I just stay there, like kind of living for that. But I'm happy with it. But there are relationships that take time. Whenever you have to kind of adapt to someone else's schedule, I mean, it's a completely different life.
Yeah, because I mean, also in London, you don't have all your relatives, and in Lisbon.
Or my boyfriend. Yeah, my boyfriend is from Portugal.
Okay, but I thought you live, guys, both in London.
No, I live alone in London.
Okay.
For 5 years. For 6 years. I live alone. 7 years, something like that.
Yeah, that's I can imagine. And there you have all the time for yourself there. And I've heard this already from Emmy. Emmy was this guy who in Instagram is called Amazing Architect, who does this crazy stuff in Cinema 4D, I think, and then he uses Octane and does these pure conceptual projects. And he told me that he started to do this while he's Indian, and his wife is also Indian, and they moved to China. And then there was a period of time when his wife moved further on in Canada, and there was some period of time where they were separate because he needed to get the visa for Canada or something like this. But he was still in China, and he said also due to the time difference, they couldn't talk so much. They could talk only during the weekend. And he said he had all the time to create all these projects.
Exactly, but that's true. Yeah, I know. That's true. I go through the same. And then how can you explain your partner, I'm going to London and I'm going to work. I'm sorry. I kind of need to work a bit more than what I'm working right now. Yeah, it's completely different. But then I know the whole point is that we establish like big relationships, and we kind of not live alone forever. I know that.
Yeah.
So you kind of need to feed both.
You're like, yeah, I kind of know. I have to be human. I have to like other people.
Exactly. You need to be social. You need to talk to people. I know.
But
listen, even in London, I barely talk to people.
Oh yeah, well, I can imagine. But
yeah.
So for you, the pandemic was a real help because then you were allowed to work from home.
It was yeah, precisely.
Yeah, that was perfect.
Changed everything.
Yeah, here, for example, in Germany, we don't have this policy because Germany is a very strict country. And for example, I think there is a problem if you connect remotely to your office from abroad, because you basically, if somebody enters, hacks your computer, enters their servers, they cannot do anything because it's outside of the territory of Germany. So,
wow.
So
wow.
It's, yeah, like in Germany, these things are very strict. But one thing I've noticed, and I'm also curious to know, is you are, I mean, I really love that about you. Also, during every conversation, you're very open, very direct, and you're very like everything on the table. You don't hide anything, and also you don't have this very strict. There are some people who have very strict division between work and private life. And for example, your Instagram is a little bit of both. Do you have like a self set up brand strategy, because what you do as private person and also what you do as an architect sort of match up together? So
that's a very good question.
Yeah, what is your like suggestion for personal branding for people who, because online communication is important, and how to curate a personal brand as you?
It's a super good question. And it also took me a bit of time to kind of understand what I wanted. But I also didn't rationalize much. It just happened to be the way it is right now. So it's like an hybrid between personal and work. It's definitely an hybrid, and I make sure that it's balanced. So I get super bored whenever I'm just doing like self-content, like my life and me. And I comes to a point that I'm bored and I just want to put work. And then sometimes I'm posting too much work and I'm getting bored and I put a bit of me. So I kind of hybridize this. And it does get some people angry because we are not very used to these kind of hybridized accounts. So some people just want to see work. Some people just want to see Mariana. And I'm trying to kind of make people who just want to see work to understand Mariana, and people who just want to see Mariana to kind of like architecture. And they're like completely, I don't know, they do something else in their lives and now they're like architecture, you know what I mean? So it kind of takes time, and you lose a lot of followers, but you also gain a lot of followers. So it's a bit of a mix. And like yesterday I was watching this cool podcast on YouTube. I don't know if you know these guys, Colin and Samir. They're really cool. I think you should watch them. They talk a lot about branding. They're more or less our age, but they speak mostly about YouTubers from Generation Z, the biggest ones. So Mr. Beast and all of those guys. And they speak a lot of branding also because they're building their own. And the other day they were saying something really interesting, and they were kind of splitting content creators. So let's say YouTubers, or I would say I am a content creator because I do have this responsibility on Instagram to kind of feed this algorithm and this community. They kind of split these content creators in the content creators in which they are the content. So like Emma Chamberlain, she's the content, what she does, what time she wakes up, and people are really interested in her. And then you have the content creators that is mostly about ideas, like Mr. Beast, like the biggest guy on YouTube, which is really idea related. So it could be a robot, it could be someone else doing that, and the video would still be popular. So you get these two, right? And they are equally very popular. And I think what I kind of tried to create was to hybridize this a bit. So there is a bit of self-content. There's an interest on Mariana and what I think and what I read and my opinions. And then there's also a bit of work that is more corporate and more formal inside of my account. So I try to mix both. Also, I don't follow content creators that are just about themselves. I don't follow influencers or bloggers or lifestyle. I don't have any interest on that. And I also don't follow corporate pages because I also get very bored on following like office pages and all that. So it needs more human side. Yeah, I think they need desperately to show us who is working behind, who are your employees, what is the workflow, what is the lifestyle behind the corporate. So I think both needs a bit of each other. So that's the kind of accounts that I ended up creating. It brings a bit of both. So who is behind my lifestyle, behind the work, and what decisions I did in life to be where I'm at, and kind of disclose the steps that I had to do, and also demystify some of the steps that I think they think it should be done for a successful life. And then on the other side this is the work that I do. And this is the tools that I use, and these are the 3Ds that I do. So I think that's part of the branding right now. And I also think this is probably the future of corporate branding, I hope. Like I know that Zaha opened this Instagram account called Zaha People. And I think they shouldn't have split it both. I don't think that was a smart strategy because it didn't work. So why would you split them both? The people are behind the work. So why wouldn't you merge work with the people behind the work? And that makes a more successful account. Although they do have a super successful business account, I think they could bring a bit of the human side. So us who are behind the screens. I think this is probably the future of corporate accounts as well. That's my opinion.
I don't know, because it's very, especially in architecture, you walk always on the edge, because you have to make it look spontaneous, but you have also to be sure that nothing from the office that shouldn't get out will get out. And this is why I think it's very difficult to do it. I mean, for you it's simple because it's you. It's like you teach your life and you know everything. But I don't know, it's maybe a smaller company could make it, but it's also.
But even big companies, like I said, the account you do for people, the people behind, and you introduce the people that work there and you give a bit of bio, you can mix that with your business account. So when you're like reaching their business account, instead of looking only at renders of buildings, you could see also, and this is the designer behind this project. And this designer has also worked on this project and that and that and that. So it creates like another dimension to this company that is not just corporate.
Yeah, totally. I have to talk then to our PR and see what it's come out, because she's very our PR at our office. She is very young and very dynamic, and she's open for new ideas, and
that's really cool. But then she will drag you to that.
I'm fine. I like to get on board on some side project at the office. I like to be involved also in. For me, it's important. As much as important to bring forward architectural projects, it's so much important also to keep the team spirit and the good work environment, because otherwise it's impossible to achieve great results if you don't have.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree completely with that. That's why your social media account should also show that. I mean, if you are that kind of business and that kind of company, then show that, like tell us that as well, also to become more approachable. I mean, I know that they have no interest on being approachable or relatable, but for me as content creator, it is very important to be relatable.
Yeah, I think the problem with some offices, in particular corporate communication online, is that they have this sort of early Instagram or past Instagram idea that you have to show on Instagram that you're cool and everything's perfect and everything's fine.
Yeah, exactly. That's a very old idea, definitely.
And they're missing the point that you should be thinking, who are you talking to? Because what you're doing on Instagram is communicating to a certain kind of person, and you should think every post, who is this targeting? Is it targeting your clients? Is it targeting possible future employees? Who you want to target, and most of the stuff that you see in different offices, oh, we did this, we're so cool, instead of saying, I don't know, we did this project and we had these challenges and we solved these problems.
Yeah, exactly.
As you said,
or this is the person behind the design, or this is the team behind the design. Why is it so hard to show the team behind the design? And that's so cool, like it really brings you closer. But even clients, I think even clients are human. They like to see the human part. They also wake up with a terrible face. They want to see the terrible face.
I can tell you the reason.
I think that's what our generation knows. I don't think this generation is still very much stuck on the beauty and the perfect image,
I can tell you in Germany, there is a lot of problems with law, because for example, if they should do something like this with the employees, they should go to every single employee and they should get a signed form that the employee is fine to have their images online. It's like Germany is crazy about this stuff. I know that I notice this every time I go back to Italy or abroad, that here in this part of Europe and in this part of the world, everything is so structured and everybody follows the structure. And that's the best and the worst part, because sometimes you don't want to follow the structure, and sometimes the structure is what actually protects you from. So it is what it is. And do you get sometimes, because I mean, I see a very positive and response from your audience every time. Do you have also some haters? Because this is something that I have not, and which makes me.
You never had? Wow.
It makes me sad because it means I don't matter that much yet. So when I'll have the first hater, I'll be like,
status.
Thank you so much for hating me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've got a lot of shit. Yeah, a lot of shit.
From what kind of people? I'm curious.
From everywhere. I think a lot of people are very frustrated in life, and in a way, when people give you mean comments, they are actually very frustrated with their own lives. They don't understand how you reached that position, and they didn't. And that's usually what gets them, so angry. Or usually it's people that are against this kind of architecture. Also, you see a lot of people that, because they cannot do what you do, and what you do looks like from the future, it puts them in the past. So they're kind of angry about it, and they feel like they are left behind in this past. So they don't give credibility to that future. You know what I mean? That's the most common fear, is people probably older that feel that this cannot be the future, probably because I cannot do it. So that doesn't mean that I'm in the past. So they're kind of angry about that. And I do get hate. Like I get hate from the architecture. I get hate from the style. I get hate from the form. I also got some hate on YouTube for promoting school, promoting academia. And because in some countries it means a lot of financial depth, but it's like ignorancy, because in my country I didn't pay for my university, for example. So they say, I don't know, I got huge testaments. And yeah, usually I delete them, I block them. Some of them, the ones that are really pissing me off, I block them. Usually I just delete them. And some of them I write on my own comment section, I say, your comment is about to expire. You have 2 seconds until I delete this, and then delete their comments. And that gives me joy. And before, sometimes I also I get their names, and then I block them and I delete their comments. Then I go to these mega platforms like 9gag or whatever. They never delete their comment section, and then I expose them there. I say you're a piece of shit, la la la, and their names stay there forever on the comment section.
Oh my God. But I
to have fun with it.
I think this whole hate culture, it's very weird because it's basically, it didn't exist before social media. And now you have these platforms where you it's like you having your own magazine or your own TV or whatever you want to call it, depending on the platform. And then people comment on it. And I don't know, there is also the media that didn't help at all in general, because it sounds like everybody has to be whether black or white nowadays. And everybody have forgotten that in real life there are shades. For example, I'm thinking about now, there are all this discussion about, for example, Joe Rogan, that he has invited people that are against the vaccines, and he's bringing this information, and he's racist, and he's blah blah blah. And I'm thinking, guys, first of all, nobody's perfect. So if we had the possibility to record the life of every single person on earth, everybody has flaws, or everybody has everybody has a family member, usually older family member, that says crazy shit that you shouldn't say ever publicly or stuff like that. So I don't understand this whole online perfection expectations, and I don't agree.
Yeah, I mean, there are some things that I understand. I really also hate when people are ignorant and they spread ignorancy. But I wouldn't take my time to go on someone's comment section and be mean about it.
Yeah.
I just don't understand that. I think it's just pure frustration with your own life. But I also think there are a lot of people who are depressed. There are a lot of people who need help. There are a lot of people who need friends. So I kind of see it in, I feel bad for you and I hope you get better, but I have to delete this. I'm sorry,
I have a suggestion for the haters. So sometimes it happens to me too, that when I see something in the feed constantly, I don't like it. And I'm I'm not going to go to the person post and comment, "Oh, you piece of shit, why are you posting that?" If it's not a close friend, I will just press unfollow. If it's somebody that's a friend and I don't agree with what they're posting, I'll just press the three dots and it says, "Don't show this in my feed." And then it's good. Exactly. We're still friends. I have a lot of friends that I don't agree with them 100%. And sometimes it's okay to not like something, but it's not okay to go there and hate and offend and stuff like that. So
there's like this filter because they are on their own devices, and usually when I respond to their messages, they change completely. Usually they change completely. They're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know you're gonna read," and then they kind of change their whatever they were saying and apologize and then whatever. So it's this filter of the mobile, like not really looking at you, that lets people go like crazy and punch the box.
Then let's hope TCI gets some first haters soon, and then we can block them too.
Don't say that.
I'm joking.
It's not really pleasant. Really, it's very unpleasant.
No, of course, I can imagine that when you haven't experienced it, you don't know. But when you experience it, it's kind of sucky, no matter who you are, to read.
Yeah, you think about it too many times.
And there are some people that are even worse, that go on these celebrity accounts and write the worst of stuff, like, "I wish your family dies. I wish your..."
Yeah, there are some crazy people.
Yeah, there are some crazy people. But let's end up this conversation in a positive note, as we always do. And I always do the inspiration toolbox. So Mariana, you're very active. You always do stuff. So probably inspiration for you. There is no time, you have to work. But but when you do have time, what do you like to consume as book-wise, music, podcasts? You don't have to say every single one of those things, but maybe something that you've been doing in your free time, or listening or reading since we last spoke.
I really like traveling, and I really like to kind of set some traveling goals for the year. So as soon as the year starts, I kind of know which big trip I'm going to do that year. And I think I also recommend that to people. Like, if you like traveling, kind of start the year by setting this goal, even like if you're traveling only in December or whatever. So I'm traveling in September, but it was very, let's say, energizing to me, knowing that I will be traveling to this place by the end of the year. And sometimes I'm like planning it on my head, or I have like already an Excel sheet or of places and recommendations, and I'm kind of feeding this idea, this kind of dream of the travel. So this year is going to be Japan, hopefully. And I recommend that as well. So just set your traveling goals for the year and kind of feed that dream till you get there.
That sounds great. I'm looking forward to see the content from Mariana in Japan. Well, Mariana, thank you very much. As I say, this is your second time on the podcast. You're still always welcome back. And let's hope that in a year or so, we are again here sitting to speak about some further news around you and some bigger projects.
Imagine. That'll be amazing. What we'll be talking about your next year of podcast and my next year as architects.
The first year of Mariana outside of Zaha Hadid.
Oh my God. Cut the podcast, cut the episodes.
No, it's a joke. It's a joke.
That's a joke.
Then have a good evening, and let's stay in touch.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Recording stop.